My ex is nice, though. He's actually really, really lovely. We just have different work ethics and what we want for the future. And I am a little bit older, so all those things they factor in. But I have to say he's nice because I feel quite guilty talking about him. But when I broke up with him, he was very reasonable with it. He was like, "You're right, I need to work on all these things." And we had a big conversation about it. And I called my dad and I was like, "Isn't this amazing that he's been so like reasonable?" And it was an easy breakup. And my dad was like, "He's even too lazy to argue." My grandfather is so Irish. There's a lot of there's been a lot of like really bad stereotypes about Irish people, and I don't think any of the previous generations have really said anything about it, except for Gen Z. They're like, "Stop it," and I get it. You know, there's like, you call us violent, alcoholics. I've never been violent with anybody, and I'm not an alcoholic anymore. I wouldn't have identified as one until I came to this country, because I'd be talking to Americans, they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm in AA," and I'm like, "Oh my God, did you burn down the house?" And they're like, "No," and I'm like, "Did you kill the kids?" And they're like, "No," and I'm like, "Why are you in AA?" And they're like, "Well, I used to drink Friday and Saturday and Sunday," and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm an alcoholic." No idea. And I agree with a lot of the stereotypes. You know, that's not what Irish people are. But the only issue I have is when you meet my grandfather, he looks like propaganda the Brits would use against us. He's worn a Peaky Blinders hat every day of his life. I have never seen the top of his head. I don't know if he has hair. He's a farmer. Well, he's a Catholic as well, and he's a farmer. He grows his own potatoes because he's like, "We'll never let it happen again." His favourite drink is Guinness. He's obsessed with Guinness. He actually has his own seat at the local bar with his own arse print, and he goes there every day and he has his Guinness. And when I was 15, my first ever job was in that bar, and the owner was like, "You're going to pour your first pint of Guinness and you're going to give it to your grandfather." And he was like, "It's going to be a beautiful moment." And then my grandfather sent it back. I said this on stage 2 weeks ago in Dublin, and my sister watched the show, and afterwards she was like, Did that really happen to you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so she's 15 years younger than me. He had done the exact same thing to her. That is the longest bit to keep going. He doesn't like Gen Z. Of course, that's fair. He doesn't relate to them. My sister's Gen Z. And when I was home, she was telling me in front of him that she was being gaslit at school. And my grandfather got such a fright, he thought someone had tried to set her afire. Then she explained what gaslighting is, and he looked like he would have preferred if someone had tried to set her afire. He's very nationalist, too, when it comes to Irish culture, because a lot of that stuff was outlawed by the Brits. So we have our, oh my God, it's so hard to explain. So we have our own football. Okay. It's called Gaelic football. All you need to know is 32 counties have their own team, okay? And my grandfather he's from a place called Longford, which you also wouldn't know. Oh my God, you clapped. Are you from Longford?
My mom's from Longford.
Oh, you're not going to like the next thing I'm about to say. I don't know if you would have clapped with all the Irish in the room if you really knew about Longford.
I know.
Oh, the joy. Ignorance is bliss. I feel so bad that I'm about to educate you. And like, look, I love going back to visit Longford when I'm here because it's so noisy and it's green. Okay, let's say the good things about it. It's beautiful, but it is the Alabama of Ireland. Okay, they've got guns. They voted against same-sex marriage. There was a whole Facebook thing once where they were trying to vote them off being a county. Okay, yeah, you really did not know what you were wooing. No, it really is like Alabama. One of the girls I knew growing up, she ended up marrying her cousin. People get really uncomfortable with that, and I don't know why, because I'm like, they had 8 kids and 7 were fine. That's just good maths. We could all hope for that, you know? And they're really hot, so good for them. But he gives me this jersey. And I did spend like a good chunk of my life there, so he doesn't identify me as from Kildare. He was like, "You're from Longford, here's the jersey." The thing about the jersey, it's the colours of the Ukrainian flag. Okay? And I'm an idiot. When all the Ukrainian flags popped up in New York, I was walking around like, I had no idea there were so many people from Longford here this whole time. Wow, could have had a community. And then, of course, my accent is in what's perpetuated in movies. I don't know if you saw P.S. I Love You and Jared Butler doing hate crime of an accent. But we have a lot of different accents. And so if you just hear me with an accent and you saw me wearing the Ukrainian colours, a lot of people were thinking I was Ukrainian. Americans would stop me in the street and be like, "Oh my God, we're so sorry for what's happening to your people." And I'd be like, the Brits, they left ages ago. And they're like, we knew the Brits were involved. They're always involved. And that can happen living in New York. I don't know if anybody is actually from New York. New Yorkers will stop you and talk to you, and they have this stereotype that they're rude. They're not. New Yorkers are just direct. I mean, if you're insecure, it might seem rude. For anyone who's not from New York, a New Yorker will stop you in the street and be like, love your sneakers, hate your face. You're like, okay. It's refreshing, to be honest. But my grandfather called me and he was like, have you been wearing that jersey? And I was like, yeah. And I told him that a New Yorker girl had stopped me in the street to tell me it was ugly, and he goes, oh, that bitch is gaslighting you. Oh. And my dad's a little young because he had me young, so we're drinking. We're really, really drunk, okay? So my dad says, isn't it crazy that men used to get a finger up the arse to check their prostate, but now they can do it with a blood test? It's crazy we ever had to go through that. None of you in a million years could have guessed that was the sentence I was about to say. The shock on your faces. But then I said, why do they still put a finger up a woman's arse? And they all looked at me, and did you ever have a room that is so drunk become collectively sober? I've never seen the girls with better posture. But I would say dumb stuff a lot, like, I know I don't have a prostate. And my friend was like, are you having a breakdown? See my dad pull away my whiskey. So I was like, no, let me explain. It's just my gynecologist has been doing that to me for 8 years in the States. And my friends looked visibly upset, okay? They were like, oh my God, you've been assaulted. And then me and my dad looked at each other, and it's the hardest we've ever laughed. Nothing funnier in Ireland than a bit of trauma, to be honest. It's very bonding. But I also think because it's the one time, you can never, ever blame a victim, but it's the one time I give you permission to blame me, because in 8 years I never went, why are you putting a finger up my arse? I was just like, does it look good? Okay, great. My friend gave me her gynecologist then. She's like, you need to go to her next. It was kind of crazy though when I went. She didn't even look at my arsehole. She got the weirdest Yelp review that day. I was like, 5 stars, won't finger yours. My ex is nice though. He's actually really, really lovely. We just have different work ethics and what we want for the future. And I am a little bit older, so all those things they factor in. But I have to say he's nice because I feel quite guilty talking about him. But when I broke up with him, he was very reasonable with it. He was like, you're right, I need to work on all these things. And we had a big conversation about it. And I called my dad and I was like, isn't this amazing that he's been so like reasonable? And it was an easy breakup. And my dad was like, he's even too lazy to argue. My dad didn't want me to marry him just because my dad is like, he's an Irish man and he's had like 4 jobs his whole life. Back home, your identity is kind of based on how much you work, which can be, it's not that it's right, but my dad is not going to accept anybody who hasn't got at least one, you know? So he kept trying to ask my dad for permission to marry me, and my dad knew that he was trying to do that, and I've never heard my dad say so many times, I'm going to feed the cows. We don't even have cows. I don't know what fucking field he was wandering into to overfeed the neighbours' cows. But I'm glad I was with my ex because it taught me a lot about like a healthy relationship. Before I was always actively dating crazy guys. I loved crazy guys. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's some sort of like, mental. But like nice guys would hit on me in my 20s all the time, and they'd be lovely and they'd be good looking and they'd have good jobs, and they'd come up and I'd be like, no thank you, and there'd be some guy twitching in the corner. I'd be like, that's my man. So with my ex just being nice, it was so nice to be just taken off the streets, you know. But while I was with him, I decided I should go to therapy, which is very taboo for Irish. Clap if you've gone to therapy, yeah? Oh yeah, brilliant. Oh, you haven't? Oh, she just confessed to her friend. I haven't told you this, but I'm so sorry, I've been going to therapy. It's really taboo in our country, to be honest. I think we're coming more to terms with it. Best thing I ever did, like you could just go and talk about your problems. Before I used to just drink. It's amazing. No, what was so helpful about it is all my exes, they were crazy, they were toxic, they all cheated. But I loved that. Don't get me wrong, I loved a good story to tell my friends, okay? I always had something to complain about. I always had the best stories, and your friends love it too, okay? They don't like, well, they want you to date a nice guy, but they don't want to hear the stories. Oh, yeah, he's just nice and treat me right. That's boring, okay? They want to hear he tried to hit me, but he missed. I can do that, he missed. But anyway, so with my therapist, she was like, don't project any of that stuff into this relationship, you know? And just because other guys cheated, it doesn't mean your current boyfriend would cheat. She made me so chill that I wouldn't even have cared if my ex had cheated. Firstly, he's extremely socially introverted and he plays video games all day. If he had cheated, I would have been like, oh my God, you made a friend. She got you off the couch. Who's this amazing woman?